history by becoming the first foreign language film to take the top prize, Best Picture, at the Oscars.
The black comedy won the most gongs of the night, taking home 4.
Well, many seasoned observers had expected Sam Mendes' wartime epic 1917 to triumph.
It had, of course, been nominated for 10 Oscars, but took home just 3.
Elsewhere, Renée Zellweger won Best Actress for playing Judy Garland in Judy. Jane thought she wasn't very good, controversially.
I wasn't on the panel.
And Joaquin Phoenix won Best Actor for Joker.
From Hollywood, our US correspondent Greg Milam reports.
And the Oscar goes to Parasite.
It was a moment of Oscars history. The first film in a foreign language ever to win Best Picture.
역사가 쓰여진 기분이 듭니다.
I feel like a very opportune moment in history is happening right now.
It was a major surprise.
Bong Joon-ho!
The film's director also taking a clutch of prizes on a night that was perhaps a breakthrough moment for the Academy. It meant disappointment for the World War I epic 1917, widely expected to take those awards for director Sam Mendes. Barely had the show started and the Oscars controversy was front and center. The Oscars is so white, sang Janelle Monáe, before hitting that other big talking point.
We celebrate all the women who directed phenomenal films.
As for the acting awards, it was all very predictable.
Brad Pitt.
As perhaps was the politics.
They told me I only have 45 seconds up here, which is 45 seconds more than the Senate gave John Bolton this week.
On stage, Sir Elton John performed the nominated original song from Rocket Man. And was then back to pick up the Oscar.
And the Oscar goes to Joaquin Phoenix, Joker.
As throughout award season, the Best Actor used his platform to call for change.
Whether we're talking about gender inequality or racism or queer rights or indigenous rights or animal rights, we're talking about the fight against injustice. We're talking about the fight against the belief that one nation, one people, one race, one gender, or one species has the right to dominate, control, and use and exploit another with impunity.
For Renée Zellweger.
The Best Actress winner, echoing the message of unity.
That our heroes unite us, the best among us, who inspire us to find the best in ourselves.
On a night Hollywood finally showed it can broaden its horizon. Greg Milam, Sky News at the Oscars.
As in the nature of things, it was a long night for Greg Milam and a long night too for Anna Smith, chair of the London Film Critics Circle. Anna, welcome to you. Thanks for coming in. What caught your eye?
Well, Parasite winning was absolutely amazing. How wonderful. As we just heard, it was fairly predictable up to that point. And then when Parasite won, it was the crowd sort of erupted. I think both at home and on screen. It was obviously a really, really popular film with the assembled talent as well. And, how extraordinary. This is the first foreign language film to win in that category and hopefully pave the way for more.
How would you describe it? It's an odd one, isn't it? I mean, it is a satire.
It is a satire. It's darkly comic thriller, lots of social elements. I think it's incredibly accessible despite being very complex. And I think maybe that's why it's resonated with so many different people. But it's really about social structures and class.
And when you're looking at the Best Actor, the Best Actress categories, no massive surprises. Do you think they were both well-deserved?
I think so. I think Joaquin Phoenix is a tremendous actor. I mean, he could have easily won for many other things before this, but obviously Joker is very well loved. It's a huge success at the box office. It's a comic book movie in which he is the absolute center, and his intense performance drives the film. So yes, I think that was deserved. I think Renée Zellweger for Judy was deserved as well. If you asked me earlier in the season, I would have been excited about these wins, but I think the problem is that they sort of cleaning up with everything in every ceremony, and so it became a bit predictable. But I think she's got a typically Oscar-worthy performance with, playing Judy Garland. It's a Hollywood on Hollywood. What better than that?
How did The Irishman get on?
Not very well. Shut out. There's a question of whether, Marriage Story got some recognition, of course, with Laura Dern, but whether Netflix films, which The Irishman is, are something that are still considered a little bit controversial by some members of the voting academy, whether they're deliberately shutting it out, or maybe The Irishman just, always the bridesmaid, never the bride.
Yeah.
And in terms of diversity, we saw the opening dance and song, bemoaning the whiteness of the Oscars and the lack of women. Why do you think people like Greta Gerwig, who has received so many plaudits for Little Women, weren't even up there in the nominations?
Well, this is something we're often discussing on my podcast, Girls on Film, because there's so many amazing female directors that could have been nominated this year that haven't been. You can only imagine that some unconscious bias is coming into play. Studies have shown that people imagine a white man when they think of a director, although Bong Joon-ho at least won this year. So I think, we need to change our idea of what good directing is and what kind of films make good directing. A lot of the films that show up are very action-based and thriller-based, whereas Little Women is perhaps more emotional. And I think people need to recognise that kind of directing is just as difficult.
But it is ridiculous, isn't it? You direct brilliantly a brilliant film, but because you're not fitting in a box in someone's head, it's not going to get shortlisted.
Exactly. It's a real issue, but the good thing is the conversation's getting louder. People are talking about it more now. It's been an outcry on Twitter, and let's hope, fingers crossed, we see some women nominated next year.
It remains, let's not forget, it's an inexact science, isn't it? In fact, it's not a science at all. It's a deeply subjective process. Jane thought Renée Zellweger and Judy was mediocre.
Yeah, I just watched it last night, and I found it a bit depressing. I know it wasn't meant to be the most joyous film in the world, but I sort of watched that, and I thought there was nothing about it that said to me that she was a better actress than lots of actors and actresses that I've seen in other films over the year. As you say, it is subjective, isn't it?
There are a lot of factors at play. There's marketing as well. There's when the film is released, and there's how much money is put behind it. There's the circuit that they do. These actors obviously go around glad-handing everyone in Hollywood as much as possible to try and to get all the votes and the nominations. So, whether it ends up as the best performance, is up for debate. But I think what's great is that this year we actually have ended up with the best film winning Best Picture.
Yeah, and just on Best Film, the timing does seem to have an impact as well. There was a feeling with 1917, wasn't there, that there was that buzz initially. Quite a lot of people went to see it, and again, in the spirit of subjectivity, quite a lot of people came away thinking it was good, but not great.
That's how I felt about it, to be honest, yes. Yeah. But I still thought it might take the Oscar because what they have with the Oscars is a preferential voting system, which means it's often the film which everyone quite likes rather than the best film that wins. But that wasn't to be this year.
What about the red carpet looks? There was some extraordinary dresses on display last night. Do you think that whole thing of wearing the big ball dress, being sponsored by all these diamond companies, has had its day, or do you think it's as popular as ever?
Well, there's less coverage of it now. I think what we see is there's less of a focus of it on the red carpet, particularly since Reese Witherspoon said ask her more. She had that campaign to say stop asking women what they're wearing. Let's talk about the quality of their performances, and they're passionate about filmmaking. So I think the coverage has changed a little bit, but still it is an opportunity to get dressed up beautifully, and why not? I don't blame them. I would.
Yeah, and just a final thought on Parasite. For people like, I think it was Martin Scorsese, wasn't it, who bemoaned another superhero flick coming out. Actually, it's a proper film. It's a smart film.
Joker, absolutely.
No. The Parasite.
Oh, completely, yes. Parasite is an extraordinary film, and it's a film I think that should appeal across the board, and it's incredibly clever as well as being very accessible. So, yeah.
When's it out here?
It's out now in the UK.
Excellent.
So other one you can go along and not enjoy, Jane.
I think I've got a very high bar. Thanks very much, Hannah. Lovely to see you.
This is Sky News Today. Coming up, a political revolution. We've been talking about preferential voting. Well, here it is writ large. Sinn Féin upsetting the odds at the Irish election. We'll be asking how they've pulled it off.